We did an episode 1 year ago called the 10 SBA Commandments, basically 10 principles that all SBA shops should abide by to run a premier SBA program. I just listened to it again recently, by the way. Episode 33. It's really good. Sometimes I forget how smart I am. Anyway, since as you know, I am building an army of BDOs, I thought I'd do the 10 BDO Commandments, and here it is. Now, if you get really good at 3 of these, you will be an effective BDO, but you should at least try to work on all of these things. All right, let's get into it. Number 1, communicate your value to the right audience consistently. This one is super important. This is day 1 on the job. If you don't get this right, your whole business will be off. All right, so first you need to figure out what your value is. Is it rate? Is it speed? Is it reliability? Really think about this and then communicate it to the right audience. I had a great message when I was starting out, but I was telling it to the wrong audience. I remember countless meetings that never went anywhere. Focus your energy on high value targets, folks that have a decent probability of becoming a referral source or a borrower, and finally do it consistently. Last week on the podcast, I had a BDO that does $100 million a year in production, and he still takes the time to post several times a week on LinkedIn. And that makes a huge difference for him because he does it consistently. And I know you're busy, but if he can do it, you can do it. Okay, number 2, find borrowers that fit the box who will accept your terms. When you start at a new shop, you need to find the deals they want to do. Forcing your deals on the bank, regardless of what their box is, will not get you very far. And before you go to a shop, you need to vet them. If they're a CRE shop and all you do are business acquisitions, then you've got to weed that out up front before you accept a job there. Now, sometimes a shop will change what they want to do mid-flight, and in those cases, you've kind of got bigger problems to deal with. Now, of course, all shops want to do rent replacement doctor deals all day long, but chances are your terms aren't competitive enough for those A++ deals, especially if you're a 7A lender. That's why it's important to find the deals right at that intersection of deals you can get approved and borrowers that will accept your terms. On to number 3. This next one, I think, is the number 1 reason I think I've been successful. Return emails and phone calls from referral sources within 24 hours, same day when possible. When I get an opportunity, 1, I treat it like gold. If it's coming from a broker, for example, they're essentially trusting you with their paycheck. You need to provide solid feedback in a timely manner. Plus, with how competitive the landscape is, it's in your best interest to move quickly. That same day response is going to get harder and harder as you grow your production and grow your referral network, but you should really never let it go over a 24-hour response time. And I know it's hard, but there's always a way. For example, I started getting in over my head this year with deal flow, so I hired an associate that now helps me with deal intake. See, problem solved. Number 4. Provide fast, clear, reliable feedback to your referral sources. People are just looking for answers. Can you do it? That's really what they want to know. Here's what I do. I'll have a conversation with someone, and if it sounds like a deal I can get done, I will ask for a package. Once I review the package, I'm going to have a decent idea of if the deal has legs. And I'll tell them, hey, I think I can get this done. Here's the structure I'm working towards. And now I need to get on the phone with the borrower. Now, that's not delivering a term sheet. That's just kind of saying, here's the structure. I'll send it in an email. Too early for a term sheet, in my opinion, at that point. But sometimes there's an issue that prohibits me from moving forward, and I'll lay that out clearly. Sometimes it's an eligibility thing. Whatever the reason, I'll clearly define why I can't do something. You just need to be clear, be a coach, and be as helpful as possible. Maybe it means they come back to you in 6 months if you can't do it now. Number 5, know your deal. This one is huge. If you don't take ownership of the deal, who will? You're the BDO. You get paid the big bucks, remember? Some of this comes from experience, knowing what the potential hurdles are going to be, but as long as you treat every deal as an opportunity to learn, you're headed in the right direction. Number 6, be proactive when it comes to potential combustion points in a transaction. If you know there's going to be a landlord lien waiver, for example, maybe get that to the landlord early on versus waiting for a closer to send it. Get the life insurance going up front. If there's something quirky in the transaction, maybe something with equity injection, hammer it out up front. Borrowers are going to appreciate that, and it helps them see that you're in their corner and you're advocating for the deal to get done, and they're going to remember that. Number 7, know where and when to push back. This is a big one, and in my opinion, it's the main differentiator between a normal BDO and a top producing BDO. There are times you're going to have to push back on your credit and closing teams, and there's times you're going to have to push back on the borrower and the referral sources. Your job is to develop an internal compass so that you can determine when to push back and on whom. So when something pops up and credit or closing has a new requirement, you can put it through your reasonability filter and determine if it makes sense and if you can defend it to the borrower if they push back, or if it's overkill and you need to push back on your team and explain why. It's a very delicate balance, but it's also the secret sauce of a top producing BDO. The marketplace values BDOs that can go to bat for the borrower and the referral source when necessary, and your team will appreciate it when you push back on the borrower and referral source when they're being unreasonable about not wanting to do something or provide something. It works both ways. Number 8, constant communication. The number one reason a customer leaves unhappy is because of the lack of communication or miscommunication. The BDO's job is to facilitate communication throughout the process. The borrower should know exactly where they stand at all times, and the referral source should be kept in the loop as well, and don't forget that. Numero 9, underpromise and overdeliver. This one's a classic and pretty much self-explanatory, so I won't go into too much detail on this one, rather just remind you to do it. And finally, number 10, develop strong relationships with your internal partners. This one is commonly overlooked. You have 3 customers when you're a BDO: your borrower, your referral source, and your internal partners. Keep them happy, support them, build rapport with them. They're gonna do stuff that you disagree with from time to time. My approach, talk to them directly and understand why they're asking for this or why they're requiring that, not to run to your boss and complain. Running over your teammates might get you a couple closings, but it's not the way to go in the long run. If you can't come to a resolution by speaking directly to your underwriter or closer, that's okay. A healthy disagreement is normal. Try saying something like this: "Hey, doesn't look like we're seeing eye to eye on this one," and that's okay. Do you mind if we bounce it off our credit manager or closing manager together? Stuff like that's just going to help strengthen the relationship and at least avoid it from getting toxic. So there you have it, folks, the 10 BDO commandments. Go leave a comment if you can think of any others that I might have missed. Until next time. All right, that's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode of The Art of SBA Lending. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, email me at ray@artofsba.com. Until next time, ta-ta.